Hello and welcome back to another HTML5 tutorial. My name is Tom and today we are going to discuss HTML5 comments. Now HTML5 comments are very important. When you're building a website or a web page and your HTML code is getting very lengthy, it's important to comment it out. You want to know what you were thinking or why you did something when you come back to your code. If you're like me, you forget things 5 minutes after you did something. And adding some comments to remind yourself is an awesome way to speed up the process of writing HTML code. I also use HTML comments on my closing tags to just indicate their closing tags. Not necessarily for like the head tag here or the body tag, these elements. They kind of say what they're doing, but in a couple of tutorials we're going to talk about divs. And divs are used to divide up your code. Alright, so you can put a div inside of a div. Inside of a div. And now you got all these divs, and they don't really say which one's ending which one and whatnot. So you can use HTML comments behind these guys to say, well, I closed out this div, I closed out this div, and I closed out this div. If you forget a div in your code's not going to work the way you expect it to. So it's always a good practice to close out your divs. Alright, so I'm just going to leave these guys here for a little bit. Let's jump over to what the syntax of it HTML comment looks like. So it's going to be an opening, caret, exclamation point, and then 2 hyphens, and then the comment. So I'll just say opening of head, and 2 hyphens, and closing caret. Spell opening correctly. Opening. So here's our opening of our HTML comment. Here is our comment itself, and then here's our closing comment. If I took away this back end here by deleting it, all of this is commented. So what would happen? Well, when you comment something, it's not displayed on the user's end of the website. So this will not be displayed on the user's end of the website. If I forget to put this in here, all this will not be displayed to the user's end of the website. Alright? So I'll just put that back. So that's what a comment is. This is the syntax. Alright. HTML comments can go for many lines. There's some languages out there you have to use different types of syntax to make it do many lines, but this can go on this line. This can go on this line and this line. And you can close it out. So this is also a comment. Opening tag, closing tag, the comment. Alright? So that's an HTML comment. So I'm going to leave that opening head up there. I'll remove that big one. So you can comment on multiple lines. So we got the comment. And we got all these divs down here, and I was talking about how I close them out. So let's first off give these IDs. We haven't talked about IDs yet either, but we'll get to it, don't worry. We'll say first, second, third. Now, I gave these names IDs for a reason. I usually use an ID or a class, preferably class most of the time, but we'll discuss that later. So I give these IDs, right? So this way, when I close out my code, or comment out my closing tags, I should say, and first, I'll do the same thing up here, and second, and then and third. Alright, so I comment out the closing tags, so I know which one goes to which. So this is the closing tag for the first one up here. This is a closing tag for the second one. This is a closing tag for the third one. Now we could give them IDs of anything they wanted. I just made it simple for second, third, but we can just get the idea that I always, at the end of a div, always give it a comment so I know where this closing tag goes to. If I took this out here, now I don't know if you can see it. This highlights this div. Well, this is supposed to go to the first one, so that's going to screw up my code. So we'll just put that back in there. That's why I commented out. So I know this one's supposed to go with this one, and if this one's missing, then I know these two aren't going to match. So that's why I do that. All right. We can also take a look at, let's just say, the client request for this title. All right. So the client requested this h1 tag, hello world. So I sometimes put these in my code too when I'm building sites for clients, just to remind me that the client specifically requested this. So later down the road that I don't come back in and say, well, that doesn't look right, and just take it out. Well, the client requested that, so I code that. So if I'm changing a website, I know, hey, the client requested that. Probably shouldn't touch that without contacting the client. All right. So let's go ahead and take a look at our browser real quick. I want to show you that comments do not show up in the browser to the user. Here's hello world. Let me just refresh. There it is. It doesn't show up. Alright. Also want to show you, if I took this opening tag here and slid it over here, remember hello world, the h1 tag, and I'll save my file there, and we'll refresh. Up, it's gone. Well, this is a good technique to, if you're troubleshooting some HTML code in your document, or any, most programming codes. HTML is not a programming code, but programming codes and CSS as well. If you're having issues with something, you can comment it out, and the browser will not display it. All right, it will just treat it as a comment, and won't display it, so it takes it out. It's also something to think about when you're making your comments. If you do not put them in the proper position, you may lose some elements. We lost the h1 tag here, so that can also happen. Occasionally, you're able to read your HTML comments in Google Inspect Element or Firebug on Mozilla Firefox. There's developer tools. I tried to replicate the being able to show comments within Inspect Element. If you've never seen Inspect Element, you just right-click on Google Chrome and go to Inspect Element. Let's bring up some developer tools. We'll discuss these and get into this more in detail in future tutorials. But right now, you see I have HTML comments in here. Alright? So with that being said, do not put anything in your HTML comments that you wouldn't want your clients or users to read. As you can see, I am able to read comments. So even though it doesn't get shown to the browser or to the user, you can still read the comments. So don't put like my client sucks or something like that in your HTML code, comment it out thinking that my client will never see it. Well, it's possible he could, so don't do that. So you can read HTML comments. When I tried doing that in the test run of this tutorial, it wasn't working, but now it's working, so I don't even have to explain why it wasn't working. Alright, so that is HTML comments. Use them often, and make a lot of them. Alright? Make sure you comment out everything, because when you get back to coming back to editing code, you're going to forget what you did. And it's hard to figure out what you did when you got hundreds of lines of code. So just make sure you add comments. If you have any questions, leave a comment on YouTube or at Wizard Tutorial, and we'll see you in the next one.